Gaping Jaw, a colossal, crooked black frame capable of harboring lightning with massive jaws lined with grinding teeth to devour anything and everything it encounters. Only poison will stop it in its tracks. And that is the description for the second Night Lord. Thankfully, Iron Eye has starting armament inflicts poison. My favorite Nightfarer to play, and they're effective against this guy, it would seem. And thankfully, it seemed like neither of the other two people wanted to go Iron Eye, so I got to go him. And here, we can see that our teammates are Reki and Haze. I'm playing with randoms, as I pretty much always do. And this is the expedition directly after beating Gladius for the first time. Beat Gladius and went straight into this one. So this would be my very first expedition going up against the second Night Lord. And I had heard that each Night Lord has its own set of bosses. And so if you went up against one Night Lord, you might get the Bell-Bearing Hunter or like a demi-human queen, but in the next Night Lord you won't. And there you can see something new. And immediately a great start. So what happened here is I play on PC, but I use a controller because I think that these games play better with a controller. But for some reason, I couldn't move. I just couldn't move at all. I could move while in the round table hold, but the moment we went into an expedition, I just couldn't move for some reason. So that's why I fell and died. And I immediately unplugged my controller, plugged it back in, and suddenly it worked. Don't know why it didn't work, don't know what fixed it, or don't know why unplugging it and plugging it back in fixed it, but it did, and now I could move. So that was a little weird, but yeah, I just wanted to follow the team because it was my first expedition against the second Night Lord, and I prefer to follow in this game rather than lead, and I didn't want to split up from a team. And here, as you can see, our starting armament inflicts damage, and while it's not crazy powerful, it is a nice quality of life thing, and it's decent enough against bosses, which I like. And here, tons of items, but I'm not a big consumable person, so I only pick up a few specific consumables, like warming stones. And up at the top of this place is a boss. And I didn't want to go straight for the boss because there's the chance that it could be a knight with a shield. As you can see, it is a knight with a shield. And bows are pretty garbage against shields, especially great shields. So, didn't want to be alone when going up against that. And I thought that my teammate might go down, which is why I popped my ult. He went down here, and Iron Eye is very good for reviving teammates. Here, Harp Bow does a bit more damage. And if I walk, I can have some raids explode out of me. So, now I have 2 bows, and Executor's Blade I figured I'll pick that up just so I have a melee option. Because there are some things where a bow isn't good. And now we can move on. I've got my bow that inflicts poison. I've got a second bow that has a better damage, so I can have a poison bow and a damaging bow, and then a melee option if I need to pull out a melee option. And I saw an ulcerated tree spirit off in the distance, and I figured we're running in their general direction, and I do absolutely love ulcerated tree spirits. They're one of my favorite non-major bosses. And here, Executor was looking over at them. And I thought, alright, I want to take him on. He wants to take him on. It seems like our third person doesn't. And yeah, the third person just kept on running. And so it saddened me, but if I'm not going to take the initiative to go into the fight, then it's my job to follow. And you may notice that my character, like, twitches. And you're the third person. They seem a bit reluctant, and I definitely felt that. But I figured an Executor can hold their own better than a Recluse. And I understand what the Recluse is going for, gaining another flash charge. So I'm gonna go for that. And we get that. And Warming Stone, because health. As I said before, you may notice my character twitching. I'm not entirely sure why, but sometimes, and this mostly happens on FromSoft games, but sometimes playing on a controller on PC just makes your character freak out. And I don't know why. And I play other games on PC, especially like horror games and platforming games, and I never have this issue. It's only FromSoft games. And I have no idea what causes it. But I don't really have this issue on the console side of things, because I do have a console as well. And I don't have this issue on, like, non-FromSoft games. So, sorry about that, but it happens sometimes. It's not super consistent. Like, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is. But here, destroyed them. And I saw the bow, and I tend to go for bows, but then I saw physical damage negation, and I figured, I already have 2 bows, and I don't really need a third one. A third one, especially that one, would be nice, but I really don't need it. Not nearly as much as physical damage negation. So, went with more defense. And I figured, I'm gonna stick with Recluse, because Recluse, as a character, generally can't hold their own as well. Yeah, the Heart Bow required a Smithing Stone too, so just upgraded my Poison Bow. But yeah, they can't hold their own. I mean, sometimes they can, but generally they aren't as good at holding their own. Partially because they have less health, and partially because they're a spellcaster. meaning they have, or they rely on FP, which is limited. Here, wasn't a big fan of either of those talismans, but I could use jump attacks occasionally, and I have 2 slots. Both teammates ran past the talisman, and I figured having it, even though I'm probably never going to use it, it's better than nothing, because I might use it. But here, just took note of the troll, and they throw these giant magic pots at you. So you need to keep moving. You need to keep the fact that they're there and aggressive. You just need to keep that in mind. And here, shooting with my poison bow. Once they get poisoned, then I swap to the more damaging bow. And I was just constantly moving because of that. And I figured, even though they're far enough away to where the bow doesn't do any damage, I can still poison them. And here, boost HP restoration from Flask. That's very good. Saw that he was throwing that at me, so ran away to dodge it. And then came up here because this is how you get over to that troll. And here, decided to ult because figured nighttime is probably not too far away. We're probably going to be dealing with the Ring of Fire coming closer soon. And so I would like to kind of get through this quicker than we are. And a good way to do that is to just pop your ult. Since we have it, we can get it back before the Night 1 boss. Here, I saw Asta less likely to be targeted. Decided to drop that and move that over. So that way what I could do is I could have my poison bow and I could shoot whatever enemy or boss I'm fighting, and once they get poisoned I can swap over to the S-Stock. Because in case you don't know, in Nightreign, basically everything has a secondary effect. Like continuous HP recovery, more damage with jump or charge attacks. Just less likely to be targeted, stuff like that. Improved attack at low HP, improved lightning damage negation, stuff like that. And some of the stuff, as long as you have the weapon on you in one of the 6 weapon slots, you'll get the effect, but some you have to hold the weapon in one of your hands. And at the time, I didn't know which one less likely to be targeted was. Even now, I'm still not sure about a lot of them. And so, probably gonna need to look that up at some point. But figured it'd be good to pick that up here. Picked up the Nagakiba because it is a katana with very good range. And I was just thinking about which hand do I want to have things on. But here, decided to go after the troll. The Executor went after it first and took them out. I didn't think resistance would be very good, but it was better than the other option. And here I was looking at the Ring of Fire and went, okay, it's getting very close now, so I think it's time to go and end our exploration for the day. So we come to the Ring of Fire, and some enemies spawned. And at the end of each day, when the Ring of Fire reaches its lowest point, or its smallest point, rather, you get some enemies that spawn that kind of indicate what the boss is going to be. And I saw dogs, these walking corpses, and a giant crab. The dogs and the corpses, I had no clue what this could possibly be. But the crab, I noticed specifically it's a Deathblade crab. And I went, okay, so this is something involved with death. Maybe a worm face? But I wasn't super confident on that. But if it involves Deathblight, then glad I've got bows, because that means that I can keep my distance and I can stay safe. And Deathblight started building up, and I decided to move away from that. And yep, it was a worm face. Instantly popped my ult, and some more enemies spawned. And that made me pretty nervous, because you don't typically get enemies spawning along with the boss. It tends to be a small group of enemies and then the boss. You don't get a group of enemies with the boss at the same time. But I figured I could use the bow, for the most part, keep my distance from the crab, and just let my team focus on the boss without having to worry about the enemies. There, as you can see, a teammate went down, and so I revived him because Iron Eye, personal opinion here, Iron Eye is the best Nightfarer for reviving teammates. And there, that was crazy. 4 back-to-back-to-back-to-back grab attacks. That felt like a bit much, but I had stamina, so it worked out. And my dodges were on point. Or at least good enough to keep me alive. Here, got my ult again, so decided to pop that. And then just keep my distance, start pelting the enemies. Haze went down once more, the boss died, and the boss dying automatically brought the teammate back up. Here, none of these looked particularly good, but sudden enemy death upon attacks seemed like the best of the 3, so went with that. Got ourselves up to level 8, and there I could see that our runes were on the map, but that's when I died at the very, very beginning because my controller wasn't working. And so there were 0 runes there. Here, it said formidable enemy. And so I was looking around to see if there was any pins on the compass, but I didn't see any. And here, ally showing location. Which means that, yep, that's a pin. Now we can move forward. There, grabbed that because it adds physical damage, and better to grab it than to not grab it. And here off to the left I could hear a scarab. In this game, scarabs drop talismans, and I could see that my teammate had killed them, the recluse, and since the recluse killed the scarab, decided to just run on forward. And we headed down into this crater. Now, there's something called shifting Earth after you beat your first Night Lord. And shifting Earth adds different areas to limb build. This is one of those areas. This one is called the Crater. And it looks very similar to Volcano Manor. You have the giant high cliffs, massive valleys. It's got a lot of fire, a lot of lava. And here, we drop down. And just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, like, leaving a teammate behind. Now, here, I wasn't sure if they went up or down, but I figured probably down because I didn't see him come up. And it's a good thing I stayed to check, because up top I had seen a demi-human queen off to the left, and I wanted to go fight them. But if I had fought them, then I probably would have been very confused on why my team wasn't there. And then once I killed them, I would have been very confused on where my team was. So, sometimes just a little bit of hesitation to make sure that you're actually staying with the group can be good when dealing with randoms. You don't want to hesitate too much, but a little bit just to stick with the team is good. And here, those 3 enemies make up a single health bar for a boss. And I decided a bit of extra health is the best we've got here. From there we can move forward. And heading down, there are a few of these enemies. And I am not good at getting on top of them. Because in case you don't know, you're supposed to jump on top of them for like a plunging attack to one-shot them. There I was just seeing if it dropped like a boss thing, one of the purple things you can examine to get a bonus. Just the first one I sat back because I wanted to see if it dropped one. The second one I sat back because I didn't want to have it explode and throw me off to my death. But yeah, as I said, I am terrible at getting on top of them and getting the plunging attacks. So I figured I might as well sit here and just pelt them with arrows. Hopefully act as a distraction. Maybe do a bit of damage. In case teammate can't get up and get the plunging attack. But they could. Here, check the map for the fire. And we were safe, we were in the clear. And there, I saw the teammate's name there, and I thought they went forward, but they actually went back. Here's a finger creeper. And I decided to go back because this was my first expedition, like, for the second Night Lord, and it was my first expedition dealing with shifting Earth. So I figured if a teammate is running back, they probably know more than me, and I'm going to trust my teammates. But it was just them running back to get the Site of Grace, either to level up or get their FP back. And once they did that, they came back. And so I didn't know that until afterwards, but once I figured that out, we continued to move forward. Here, decided to just shoot these small guys, like, until seeing where the team is going. Here I saw the team was running off this way, so decided to follow them. And that's something you'll see me do a decent bit, is if there are some small basic enemies, but the team isn't really moving, or has stopped for a minute, for whatever reason, I'll just kill the small enemies because it's something to do. And here, this enemy showed up, and I figured, okay, business as usual, shoot the poison bow. Once they get poisoned, I can ult them, so we can get through this just a smidge bit faster. And then we can use our damaging bow until they, like, get done with the poison. Here, used the character skill because if it hits an enemy, it adds a little X where you're locked on, and that little X indicates that that enemy takes more damage. And that's pretty good for dealing with bosses. Especially because you can use it once every, like, 7 seconds or so. And because you can use it as a dodge. So you can use it to dodge an attack and get the boss to take more damage. Their teammate went down, I revived him. As I said before, bows are surprisingly good in this game for reviving teammates. They decided to wait for the lava to go away, and I already had 2 bows, so I decided to pick Lusat's Glintstone Staff, since it has Stars of Ruin, which is good. And then I was shooting at the Recluse and then shooting at the bow to try to get their attention, because I thought they might want that. And here the Recluse was trying to figure out what weapons they wanted. Here, picked it up, dropped it. I was hoping it would go towards them, but kind of went off to the side. And then they ran over to this, and I went, oh, this is a thing. And decided to fully upgrade the heart bow. That got me the Crater achievement. So kind of glad Recluse ran over to that, because I didn't even notice that was a thing. I thought this was just another normal boss. But there, I looked at the 2 stabs and saw that Recluse had picked up the staff that I picked up and dropped. So thankfully, my pickup didn't go to waste. And then flew out of here. And all the way at the top, dropped down, and there was a group of demi-humans here. And off to the left, you can kind of see it. There's a spirit spring jump that you can use to jump up super high. And right next to that is a demi-human queen. And there's always a demi-human queen there. Which is nice, because demi-human queens are an easy boss. And here, there was the high ground, so I decided to stick on that, while just pelting enemies with arrows. And I thought that was pretty fun. Here, I thought, okay, let's check the map. Checked it, saw that we probably have time, and I went, okay, I don't want to stand around. I want to keep moving. I want to be productive. And so I beeline for the boss, but then my teammates made a marker, and I went, well, I don't want to fight the boss alone while my teammates run and do something else. So I checked on them to make sure I wasn't abandoning them. I wasn't, thankfully, and we all went to take on this boss. Iron Eye's ult, surprisingly good. And with them, nothing here seemed that great. Didn't think any of these were that good, but I figured more stance breaks, maybe? Not great, but it's something. You can't win them all, sadly. And here I was checking these just to see what they were. And here, saw that the Ring of Fire was closing in, and I went, okay, we beat the boss, I'm gonna go for that. And then I saw the Recluse was going somewhere else, and that it was a church. And I went, ooh, do I go with Haze to the Ring of Fire, or do I go with Recluse? And I figured it's better to be safe than dead. I don't think going with the Recluse would kill me, but I'd rather just not risk losing a chunk of health. In hindsight, this was a mistake. And right here I was realizing I should have gone with Recluse. They were actually correct. So, mistake on my part. Ah, well. You live, you learn. Here, I was just looking at my weapons, since there was nothing else to do. And as the Ring of Fire made its way in, our final teammate was making their way over here. I decided, we got time, I'll pop this. You need to like fully complete the animation before you're allowed to roll out of it. So don't do it if you need to move in the next like 3 seconds. Because it takes deceptively long to be able to roll out of it. Here, Misbegottens. I was trying to think, but I couldn't figure out what boss this would be, besides, like, maybe a Leonine Misbegotten? But that didn't feel like a Knight 2 boss to me. Here was a Crucible Knight. And at the time, I went, how does a Crucible Knight... Like, how do you get a Crucible Knight from Misbegotten? And I mean, I guess so with, like, Misbegotten embodying Crucible, and there's some lore there. And then once they were getting low, the Golden Hippo spawned in. And I was gonna shoot the Golden Hippo, but then I saw Crucible Knight was running at us. And I was going to go after the Golden Hippo because, as I said with the fort, with the Knight boss, bows kind of get hard countered by shields, especially great shields. And the Crucible Knight is a great shield, whereas the Golden Hippo doesn't. And here, I made the mistake of thinking that the Crucible Knight wouldn't go after me after I shot him a bunch of times. But I wanted to go after the Golden Hippo. But at this point, I resigned myself to just going after the Crucible Knight, because sorceries also get hard-bodied by shields, especially great shields. And the Recluse was the other person going after the Crucible Knight, so I figured neither of us are very good against shields, and so I can attack them when he's looking at Recluse, and Recluse can attack them when they're looking at me. And they were also almost dead anyways. Here I pick up a Smithing Stone 1, just in case I had anything that could use it. And with that, the Golden Hippopotamus very easily went down. And the top and the bottom one are both super useful. And I decided to pick up the one that gets me more health from flasks before moving on to day 3. Here, tried to level up, didn't have enough. Here, the only thing that took a smithing stone 1 was the S-stock, which I wasn't going to use. So I decided to just drop that, because I wasn't going to use it. And I went, okay, I'm going to buy 2 Starlight Shards and the Warming Stones. The Warming Stones for myself, Starlight Shards for the Recluse, and the Recluse booked it before I could drop it for him. But that's something you'll notice that I do pretty much every time we have a Recluse and I have the extra runes, is going into the Night 3 boss, like going into the Night Lord fight, I'll buy Starlight Shards and then drop them for the Recluse, or for the Revenant if we have them. Because Nightreign has no blue flasks. You don't have blue flasks to get your FP back up. You don't have any Sites of Grace to get your FP back up. Meaning, all you really have is Starlight Shards. That's kind of it. Recluse does have their character skill, but Starlight Shards are a much better form of FP regen. And so, I like to be helpful, I like to support my team, and that's how I do it. Here, I wanted to drop the Starlight Shards, but Recluse just went booking it. And here we have Adel, Baron of Night. The second Night Lord, and my first time ever fighting them. And I was shooting my poison bow until they got poisoned, and there they vomited up the poison, and then instantly got rid of the poison. And I thought, okay, so poison doesn't actually like damage them really, it just has them do that animation, and that acts as like a stun, a very unique stun. And I thought that was pretty cool, actually. And so, instead of moving over to my damaging bow, I just continued on with the poison bow, because I wanted to get that animation as many times as possible. Here, as I said before, this was my first time fighting Adel, and so I wasn't sure what they were doing. Like, I had never seen these attacks before. I mean, like, before this expedition, the most I'd seen of Adel was one tiny little moment in a trailer where Iron Eye ulted Adel. And that was before we had even heard the name Iron Eye. But yeah, that's all I'd ever seen of them until here. And here, they actually got poisoned and didn't do the animation. So I thought there might be like a limit to how many times they can do that animation. And got grabbed by the grab attack, because my first time ever fighting them, I didn't know how to dodge it quite yet. Now you might notice, I'm not using my ult. And that's why. You see, Iron Eye's ult instantly revives a teammate if they only have 1 bar. So, yeah, I like to save it for that. But there, we got Gaping Jaw. Defeat Adel, Baron of Night. And we got a Trace of Night, the qualities of the Night Lord. And yeah, That was my first time fighting Adel, and I beat him. Reki and Hayes, good teammates. I like them. And here we get Trace of Night, reward for achieving objective. Intelligence +3 is kind of good for the spellcasters. Faith +3 and character skill down, or character skill cooldown, good for the 2 spellcasters. This, I can sell that. Although, Curse Sword restores HP, that's kind of nice. Here, Revenant strengthens family and allies. Now, I'd never played them before. Here, this one is new and unique. Not that great, but unique. But yeah, I never played Revenant, so... And I avoid spoilers, I avoid watching other people play the game. And so when it said family, I wasn't really sure what that meant.
Champion, a moment, please. I have installed a dressing room next to the study. If you have other garments you would prefer to don, it is yours to use as you will.
Change garb. A dresser has been fitted in the storage room. Use the dresser to change into newly acquired clothing or purchase new outfits from the dresser. The change garb menu can be accessed directly from that, and then Shifting Earth, the crater. A sublime smoldering crater, an ancient temple built to honor the smithing arts that were acts of the divine. Eruptions over the ages have laid ruin to most, but one last ancient forging art remains close to the crater. And yeah, that's the thing that we got that gave us an achievement. Down after beating the magma worm. But here, I wasn't sure where the dressing room even was. I assumed it was here because there's just an empty spot here. But 'twas not. So I'm still not sure what goes there. But I figured here's the next possible location. And yep, it's here. This area has been cleared out. And here, use the change garb menu to change the appearance of a character. Character appearances have no bearing on abilities. And here, we have 2 different alternative options that you can purchase with Merc. And every single character has 2. Here, Dawn, for Wilder, looks super nice. I like that one a lot. This one looks pretty decent as well. Definitely not bad. Though, for Wilder, I prefer the 14k one. For Guardian, I kinda like Dawn. It's alright. Guardian is probably gonna be the last one I get these outfits for, though, because I'm not too big of a fan of his. For Duchess, Dawn is alright, but Darkness looks cool. I like the bat cape with like the secondary bat cape with the ruffles at the bottom. They look cool. Raider, Dawn and Darkness both look very unique, but not a fan of how slow Raider is. But here, Dawn for Recluse looks incredible. One of my favorite outfits out of the ones we can see here. So, I'm thinking that Dawn for Recluse is probably going to be the first one that I get. And then here, we have Dawn and Darkness, which both look pretty decent. But, yeah, in a later part, I'm going to look at all of these and give my thoughts on the characters' visual designs. But I'll do that in a later part. Probably in like 5 or 6 parts. And here we buy the besmirched frame because it was unique. And I wanted to see if it did anything. Because I had heard I'd heard that it did something. There, I saw like an exclamation point on the map. I also saw that all the characters show up on the map. And I thought that was cool. And here, the exclamation point brings us to this. Touch Phantom. And this brings us into a loading screen. But before heading into that, I just want to say, I want to go through and beat... Like, I want to beat one Night Lord with every single character. It can be the same Night Lord, I don't really care. But I want to beat a Night Lord with every character and get at least 3, preferably 4 pages in the journal for every character before I look at the visuals and talk about that. Because I just want to get a feel for all the characters and learn a bit of their lore. Now here, I was hoping Friend, but when I locked onto them, I kind of lost hope for that. But here, this is a boss. The Night Idol with 3 little phantoms. Now, this place may seem familiar, and that's because this is the end of the tutorial where you fight the Fell Omen. Now, I decided to just sit back, keep my distance, use the bow to just whittle down the enemies. And this, I realized, this is a Mad Pumpkin, though with a very unique skin, and I thought that was cool. Here, that giant skeleton wasn't moving, and we weren't doing much damage, so I was hoping to just be able to sit back and ignore them, but they have a giant laser beam, and this character is rolling all of our shots. And second laser beam, and that second laser beam made me go, okay, I can't just ignore this guy anymore because he's got ranged attacks, even though he's not moving. So I'm going to have to move over here, kill him, and that will allow me to fight this Night Idol one-on-one. And I was sitting against the wall because even though it means I have less room to move, it allows me to keep an eye on the Night Idol. And there, I decided to just kill them as fast as possible, even if it meant taking some damage. That may have been a mistake, but here, I realized, oh, this Night Idol, they roll all of my shots, but I can shoot them when they cast a spell. And that allows me to get some damage in. And I remembered, if you wait long enough, you get flasks back. And so that's why I was continuing to shoot. Partially because sometimes you can get the timing right and hit them, but mostly because I just wanted them to spam roll and give me enough time to get a flask back. Though, at this point, I felt like as long as I didn't make any significant mistakes or misplays, I would win. And with that, the Night Idol has been felled. And she proclaims that she will have her revenge. And that gets us the Revenant joins the fray achievement. New character, the Revenant. The Revenant has joined the Warriors of the Round Table. Choose her to depart on expeditions like any other character. The Revenant is a tactical character who can summon phantoms and coordinate attacks with them. Now, I read much faster in my head, so I had to read there. But here, our first time fighting the Gaping Jaw, Adel, and we beat him. Very happy with that. And we got to see new outfits. and we unlocked a new character in the Revenant. Like I said, I'll look at all the characters and give my thoughts on their visuals another time, but for now, I'm very happy with this. So, thanks for being here, and yeah.